Okay. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Just trying to get this connected here. I've got some new stuff. Trying to make sure we've got it going here. Can you guys hear me? All right. So, I think we're about ready to get started here. And can you guys leave me a comment? Make sure you guys can hear me, because I've been having some microphone issues right before. Sorry guys, if you can hear me. I'm just trying to make sure everything's good here. Sure you guys can hear me? Oh, yep. Okay, apparently it works. All right. Okay. Yes, okay. What are we going to paint tonight? Now everything's coming through, so sorry about that, because I have got some new technologies that I was wanting to test tonight. And that's what kind of this is about, and plus I have something to paint, and I want to paint it. So I figured what better way to paint something than have a live with you guys, and we can have some conversation along the way. So tonight I'm kind of excited because first we're going to be painting, second we can have some conversations, and I'm going to be painting a book nook. So I've got a friend that she is huge into Harry Potter, and she has this like awesome bookshelf, and she wanted some book nooks. So I've actually been in the process of painting these different book nooks for her. And I haven't really posted anything about them, but so it's like this little box. If you guys aren't familiar with what book nooks are, they are essentially it's like the reverse of bookends. They go in the middle of your books. And this one is Slytherin. So what I've already done is I actually printed it in this really nice dark green filament. And then I masked it off, and then I just airbrushed the inside of it. So this is all black, because I want it really dark. It's Slytherin, and I think, it really deserves to be just super dark. And what goes inside it is this snake, obviously, Slytherin, if you guys are familiar with Harry Potter. And I've already done some steps of this already. So here, let me try to assemble this for you so you can kind of see what the end result is going to be. If I can get it in. Here. So it kind of slides in really nicely, actually. And goes in, I think, like that. So it's going to be popping out, and then it's got the actual snake head. So it's going to be a really cool paint job when we're done. And I'm going to pull that out. And so I really don't need this tonight when we're done, maybe, because I'm pretty sure we're going to finish this pretty quick. But all I did was mask this around, and I'll take the tape off, and when I'm all done, so it'll have a nice green edge. Now, set that aside. And this is the other cool thing for tonight, is I have got a new setup to where I can switch between my cameras easily. So now I can jump over here and back over here. So I'm kind of excited about this, because it's always just been, you're only seeing this on lives because I can't switch it back to me. So hopefully everything's going to work tonight. And that was kind of the hiccup when I first got started, because I was trying to get everything connected, and the live stream just did not work out. So I had to create another one really quickly. So let's get started painting this. And along the way, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, ask them and we can talk about them. Even if it's not related to this, like, I'm willing to chat about just about anything. So, Mark John, nice. Ooh, let me see if I can do this. This is new too. Can I add this? Oh, look, I can see your guys' comments. I can throw them on screen now too. That's awesome. I've got this new, it's called a Stream Deck. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it allows me to push stuff up. which is really cool. So thanks guys for joining, and let's talk about this guy right here. So what I've done already is, this was actually an orange filament, because you can see right there. And I painted it all black first off, and I just did it with a brush. But then what I did was, with my airbrush, I went ahead and painted it just in like a zenithal kind of way, is a evergreen. And so what this is just, this is like a super, super dark green. And what I did, if you're not familiar with what a zenithal is, so a zenithal highlight is when you take your airbrush, and I essentially held it, you can imagine I was holding it like this with my airbrush pointing at this. So I was pointing my airbrush this way. Then I was just hitting it from the top and only focusing on these bands right here. So if you look at it from the top, you can see this green is really showing up. But if we look at it from the bottom, you see how we see that black? And I've got a few spots I missed, you can see it. But in the book nook, you're not going to be able to see it. So it's black from this way, green from this way. And that's kind of with a zenithal, is I was working on the highlights. Then I did the same thing with my snake head right here. So I was really getting in, and let's get a little closer. So I was getting in, and you can see how on the ridges of the eyes, they're still pretty black. Like a lot of this black is shining through. And at the bottom, definitely you can see a lot of this black. And I wanted it really dark. So I was only focusing on some of the highlighted areas. But like the top of the head, I was hitting it really hard to get all of that green to show through. Then also right here, because I really wanted that to show through as well. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to start to take this apart one by one. Oh, and I'm sorry, I completely forgot. Then I took this wild wasabi, and you can see that this is a very, very pale green. And I like to go really bright and then only apply just a little bit. So you can see from the top, I did the same thing, but I was kind of angling it to where you can see only the edges, the ridges. So then when we go this way, you can see it's a lot darker, like I didn't get it all in there. That way I can get those ridges to show up with my airbrush. And then I was looking at pictures of like snakes, and almost all of them, they do have this belly, but a lot of them will, like, the color will blend in. So I was doing a slight overspray on this, as you see. Like, it blends over, and some of it I didn't even fully blend it to this side. So I did that on purpose, because I just wanted like a soft gradient into this color, because I figured, you know, that would look really nice. And since it's kind of turning, and it's like, this is the top, I wanted like right here and like right here to kind of show up, because when we have the head, it's also going to be showing this area. So that's why I kind of focused on that. But when this is in the book nook, you can see the flat spots, like it's going to be back there pretty far. Like this is the front of it. So the head is actually all the way in, like you can see the book nook would be right about here. So this is about how much is going to be popping out of the actual book nook. Then with the mouth, I did the same thing, and I was really focusing on the edge of the mouth and really getting those edges, because we're going to paint this and the tongue and the teeth and eyes. But I think this will be really fun. So a lot of the things that I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to be building upon this. Like, so this is kind of my foundation. And since this was kind of like an impromptu live, I figured I would show you kind of in the middle of my process. Let me get a drink of water here. And Mr. Pigment. Snakes are cute. Thanks for joining, Mr. Pigment. All right, so let's go ahead and start. So what I want to do is I'm going to try to bring these scales out just a little more, because I'm starting with a really dark base of a green. So I'm going to go a little bit brighter with the green. So let me see here. And I don't want to go crazy bright with it, but just a little bit bright with it. So, if I can select my right color. Here we go. Let's try this holly. I'm shaking my paint. And for this, I'm probably going to be doing quite a bit of dry brush because I've already done my airbrushing, I've got my base, and now I'm just going to kind of highlight some of these scales because overall, this is going to be a pretty easy paint job. And I really want the mouth to really show a lot of those details. So we're going to paint the tongue and make it look really good and get some of these colors to show up. But this is going to be fun. And we might be doing something cool with the eyes. I was thinking, and you guys can tell me what you think, of using some of this Liquitex acrylic gold to paint on it. It's actually an ink. And I can thank Mr. Pigment. He's actually got me this because he said it's so good that I need to try it. And I've never put it on anything. And I was thinking maybe if we have gold eyes, because this is Slytherin, it's kind of magical. It might be kind of cool. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but we can try something else too. Dennis, you made it. Need one of those paint shakers. Oh, I do have one of them. It's out of my reach right now because of, like, I didn't move it over. Wait. If you can hear it shaking. It's really cool. I like the thing. If you guys don't have, like, an automatic paint shaker, they're worth their weight in gold. So, what we're going to do now is I'm going to take this holly green, and I've got my textured paint palette, and I'm just going to add a little bit of green to this. And it's still orange from our last live stream where we were painting a creepy pumpkin. And I did find the... I'm trying to find the right brush. I actually did find the other eyeball, like if you guys were on that. My words... Wait, what, Mr. Pigment, what you saying? If I can add it. My words were, this was so cheap, you need to try it. Yeah, when he's talking about the gold acrylic ink. So, yeah, I can't wait to use this. I really want to. I think it'll be pretty good. It was on sale for $3. That's awesome. Yeah, I use Liquitex white ink a lot. I really like their inks. And I actually have some black ink. So, let's I'm just going to use my large Army Painter dry brush for this. And what we're going to do is I'm going to just roll this in my paint. And since this is a really bright green, I'm going to not apply it super heavy because I just want to get some definition on these scales. And we can even... How about zooming in a little? Whoa, that went fast. There we go. All right. That pumpkin eye is small. Yes, it is. And the funny thing is like, for those of you that might not have been on that last live stream a few weeks ago, it basically, it was missing a pupil. And it was just like this tiny ring. And I mean, it was like this big. And it rolled away. And then right after the live stream, I got up. Like, my wife was crawling around on the floor trying to find it for me during the live stream and could not find it. And then suddenly, right when we got off the live stream, it was like right there. It was kind of funny. So I was able to finish it just a few minutes after we finished the live stream. So all I'm doing is just lightly going over this, and I'm trying to hit the scales. I don't want to go the other way. I really just want to get the tips of these scales. And I'm also going to be focusing on the highlighted areas. So if I'm like literally just setting it like this, you can see I want to get this area, I want to get this area, I want to get the highlighted areas because I really want to keep these dark spots. Yes, I found the eye. Yeah. It was just really funny that, like, my wife, like, she's like the most amazing. She was watching the live stream and saw that, and she came down, started looking for it. Because my son first came down, like was crawling around as I'm painting, and it was funny. And then she like came to try to find it. But yeah, it turned out really good. I think I posted pictures in the Discord of it. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask them. Because this is a pretty simple paint job we're doing tonight. And I'm just trying to get those top ridges. And it's really, you can see how it's kind of bringing out the color. And I want that variation too. So I'm not hitting it everywhere. Because, you know, snakes, they can have different colors and banding and all kinds of stuff. And the nice thing is I'm not trying to mimic any specific snake. I'm just making this up like how I want it to be. Because this is a Slytherin snake from Harry Potter, and it's not real, so I can make it whatever I want. That's the beautiful thing about art. And I'm just getting this off on my texture board. Do my test. And really just trying to hit it hard on these main areas right here. I want some of that to show up. And then after this, after I get all of the green skin done, I've got one last thing I really want to try out. It could make or break it. It could honestly make it turn out terrible. I don't know. But I want to take this color shift. I think I used this on the eyes of the pumpkin a few weeks ago. But I really like this color shift stuff. And just to add some extra character, especially like magical things, like because it just makes it look really cool. Like I've got like a color shift purple, and I've got like and I just dropped my stack of color shift paints, so they went down by all of my spools. So I've got that too. Like this one, this was apparently I played Jenga and I pulled the wrong one, but I think I want to put this on there, and we'll see how it turns out. I just do like a light coat and make it glisten a little bit. I think it would make it look really cool. But yeah, I've got a friend, and she has been asking for these, and I've just been taking care of them one by one because I'm doing every single house. So if you're in the Discord or the Patreon, you probably have seen me posting. I got Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw already done. All I've got left is this one in Gryffindor. And Gryffindor is going to be a lot of airbrushing, so that's not great for a live stream because you just keep hearing my compressor run. So sounds like they shifted into a color pile. That is true, Mr. Pigment. A pile that I get to clean up after this live stream. You gotta love live. You know, anything can happen. Last week, or a few weeks ago, I lost the eyeball to my pumpkin, and this time I'm just dropping all kinds of stuff off my desk. And my desk is pretty clean, too, and I'm like over there in the corner. So, all right, as we was talking, you can kind of see, like, I'm just subtly gradating this. Like, I'm still hitting it. So here, if you want to get a little closer there, you can still see it's hitting some of these edges. So all I'm doing is I'm pressing harder here. Then I'm doing the same thing, and it's literally just kind of dragging my brush until I'm barely touching it. And that's how I'm picking up just these little bits right here. And that's how we can get this kind of cool, like, nice scaly effect while keeping all of these dark cracks. This is the kind of stuff that's like super easy to make look nice and to get transitions, because you're just going in one direction. You don't have to do anything else except for just go back and forth. Or not back and forth, but just pick it up and come back with it. Excuse me. So what are you guys 3D printing right now? I know I've been working on some support tests, like figuring out different ways to create really good support settings. And I've got a bunch of fails, just trying to see what works and what doesn't. Is there anything cool you guys are printing? Oh, and I think I put this, if you guys are interested in this, I got this from Cults 3D, from an artist on there, and I've got this in the description. I'm pretty sure I put it in the description. But there we go. So that's pretty much it for this guy, right? Or for this green. Now we'll move on to the head. Okay, so I'm probably going to hit this just a little bit harder, just like I did here. So like you can see, like this is hit just a little bit harder, and this is going to be on the top of the head. So I really want to, like, I'm going to figure out, so if I draw like a line, if we zoom back out here, wrong way, there we go. So if we zoom out here, this is going to be the edge of the book nook. So if I draw a straight line, essentially right here is where the head is going to be poking out. So this is going to be in the book nook. So I'm going to kind of make this a little bit darker, and then up here is a little bit brighter as it comes out. So Aaron says he is printing lightsaber stands. Oh, nice. Do you actually have like 3D printed lightsabers, or did you buy some? I know my son is super into like lightsaber, like I don't know what it's called, but he's really good at it. Like he flings it around. It's like almost cinematography. And Dennis, the book from Hocus Pocus with the moving eye. I cannot wait to see that, because so the funny thing is in the Discord, Dennis showed this moving eye, and it was so funny because it was like in a pumpkin, and it's really cool. I think Dennis made the pumpkin too, and it basically is just it's an eye that opens and then moves around and then closes. And I told him, I'm like it would be cool if you made like the book from Hocus Pocus. And then literally just a few seconds later, he sends a picture on the Discord saying, showing a picture of it printing. It was like, great minds think alike. I mean, it was crazy. It was really, I got a really good kick out of it. So I can't wait to see that thing done. That's the one thing I really haven't done a lot of, is do like 3D prints with a lot of wiring. I tried to do an Iron Man helmet a long time ago, and it was a complete failure. And I know I reached out to like Frankly Built, and this was a long time ago before he was really, really big. And he sent me some resources to look at, and I was like, and I failed on that one. I'm not really too good with electronics. I can make an LED blink or something, and that's just about it. So there we go. You can see how I'm hitting this right here really hard. And if we zoom in, there we go. Go slower that way. So I'm hitting the edges, and this is really getting like that eyebrow to like brighten up. So versus how dark it was, and now you can see like how it's starting to just brighten. And I really want it really bright right here, because this is kind of like the focal point of the face, and I want those gradations. Like, I like that a lot. And I'm just going to go inside the eye a little bit too, to be able to get that kind of gradated over, because I don't want complete black right here. And that's the thing, you just gotta, when you're doing this kind of stuff, it's not hard to play with, because you can do just a little bit and see, it's like, okay, is that enough? No, I'm going to keep going. And I'm spinning my brush as I'm going, because I've got pigment still on the brush. And now I'll get the cheeks to kind of get that. And I chose to do the cheeks now when my brush is almost out of pigment on the brush. And that way I'm not going to like overload it on that transition. And there you go. So now we can see that transition looks a lot nicer into the bright green. And get the tip of the nose. Because that's the thing, like when you're doing dry brush specifically, you can wait till there's almost no paint left on it and keep going. Like it's still going to give off some paint, because like you can see I'm doing this and it's not showing up anything, but when I'm going against this right here, it's going to show up. So if I keep going right here, you can start to see some of that green showing up. Like it's really about choosing to dry brush stuff at the right moment when there's enough, like just enough pigment left on the brush. And that's why I was trying to get these top areas first. So I'm going to get a little bit here and just keep spinning my brush. And it's just, I mean, it's very subtle. I don't know if you can even tell, like on camera. But yeah. Oh, I missed it. Aaron, we're talking about your stands. I have metal ones that have light and sounds from years ago. Yeah. So I know my son last Christmas, we got him like those dueling sabers. I think they're like Saber Masters or something. That was like his big gift, and he was so excited. Okay. So there we go. So I really like that. So I think with the head and that green, that's really showing up well. And for this, I just, like I said, I want this really dark. Now what we're going to do is we are going to just take that exact same wasabi that I used for the belly, and I want to just lightly get a little more on some of these areas. That way I can be a little more controlled. And we'll just put this on the paint palette, and I'm not even going to clean my brush. And here we go. So just kind of rolling it in there. I'm not jamming it in. That's the key when you're dry brushing, because you really don't, you just want it on the edge of those bristles. You don't want it to, you know, be completely saturated deep in there. Okay, I'll just do a test. Too much. And all I'm doing is just going back, and my textured paint palette just kind of removes that paint. So I can see just a little bit showing up. It's perfect. And what do we got? Houdini. So good to have a painting vid. You have taught me a lot. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad. Painting is my favorite thing to do, and I'm just happy to teach. If I know how to do it, I'll show how to do it. So now all I'm doing is just, I'm going right across here, and I'm just getting those high ridges until, and you can, if I don't know if you can hear it, I mean, it's so subtle, but it's just kind of like hitting only the very top edges. That way, I want it just a little bit brighter. So right on those edges. And that's where I'm hitting that. And I'm not focusing too much. Like, I don't want to focus too much right here, back here. But now that I've got this on, I can see, okay, like right here is where I need to start focusing, because I want to get that shadow, like make it look like it. So if I see, I'm like, all right, so right here is where I want it to get brighter. And I can just keep hitting it right there and brighten that up. Get some more of this wasabi. And just keep hitting it. And then with these bigger areas, I can really just focus on just a few of the spots. And you could also easily airbrush some of this stuff too. Like, one thing, sometimes it's nice to just kind of rub it, like when after you've dry brushed it, to kind of get rid of even more. And I use that to kind of blend it. I don't do it all the time, but when these bigger areas and I can see some layer lines, I will do that. Like, it'll just help blend it. So you can kind of see, and it also helps with the chalkiness. At least that's what I've kind of done. So you can kind of see right, if you can see that, and then I'll just rub a little bit and it blends it in. So then let's see, I want to make sure where my shadow should be. So right here, and that's where I haven't really hit it a lot, but right here I'm going to get a little more. And you can see some of the layer lines. I didn't clean this up a ton just because this is going to be up on a shelf. I probably should have sanded that just a tiny bit, but excuse me. But it's at, I printed this at a 0.08 millimeter layer height, and it turned out good, I think. And it's a really nice model. That's the other thing. The guy that, like this, I had to support the teeth, and that was it. It just printed on the bed like that. But there we go. All right. I don't want to hit it too much because I really want this to be a very dark and menacing kind of snake. So I think that's going to be right what I want. And I wasn't planning on taking forever on this guy because, like, now this is pretty much done until I decide to move to this, and this might make it interesting. We'll see. So here we go. I think we're ready for the head now. So, all right, here we go. Let's hey, look at that. I can switch between cameras now. So with this guy, what I'm going to do is I'm really going to focus on, like, it's going to take quite a few layers of paint to be able to cover up some of these teeth. So the teeth, what I'm going to do first off, and these sides right here, is I am going to paint it gray first. Then I'm going to paint it white. So I sometimes, when I've got a super dark color and I need to, like, bump it up a few steps, and I know it's going to take a lot of paint, even some of my really good paint, I know it's going to take a couple coats, so I might as well just kind of give me a good base coat, and then I can use some of my better paints to be able to, you know, really punch it up and have a good foundation to paint on. So with this, I'm going to be like the little, I don't know what that even is. What is it called? Is it the webbing of the mouth, I guess? I guess webbing? Cheek? Inner cheek? If you guys know what that's called, let me know. But that is going to be like a really, like, I think it's going to be like this, a pink. Like, I was honestly thinking about like something like a squid pink or something like that. This is my airbrush, but I think I got a game color version of it. I also got a lighter pink I can add some white to. So, like, I got like a hot pink I can add some white to really mute it. But I was wanting to make this pink because I was looking, and there's some that are like a pinkish red. So maybe I could even make it red. Then we're going to make it, like, maybe I'll just do a quick dry brush with some pink on there. But I think that would look really cool. Then we'll get the tongue, but the mouth, like how dark it is, I think I might just kind of like do a subtle gradation of like from that red to black all the way back in the mouth. That way we can like have that darkness, because I like the darkness of the mouth, if you can see right there. Then we can do the eyes. So there's not a lot when it comes to this model. Like, we've got the mouth, the little side pieces of the mouth, the tongue, teeth, and eyes. So let's start by getting our teeth and the, I guess, webbing. I don't know what it's called. This side piece. That's what we're gonna call it. We'll paint these gray. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a gray. Now, the key to doing this, here, let me my paint shaker. There we go. So the key when we're doing this is we really want to make sure that we're not getting close to the edges. So when we're painting this, like, let's just put some in here. And get my brush here. Forgot to clean my dry brush real quick. Okay. So what was I saying? Yeah, when we're painting the edges, we want to make sure that we're not going right up against where our final color is going to be. Because when we're doing this more of a base coat kind of thing, we really want it to be more like away from the edge. So I'm going to be painting this away from the edge. And let's get some more distilled water here. And we'll thin this down a little bit. Use my stir stick. And I'm just adding some distilled water to thin this down, not up. And this will just help with paint strokes, and it will give us a nice smooth finish so we don't see any of those paint strokes. All right. So I'm gonna get my brush a little wet first to get a nice point on it. Then we'll grab some paint. And I'm just going to go in here and start applying this gray on top here. And it's really just giving us a good foundation, like I said. And I don't think I want to touch the insides here. Like, maybe I'll do it just a little bit. But I might just leave that to the actual color, because I really like how dark it gets in that mouth, because I was trying to avoid that when I was airbrushing this. So there we go. And we can zoom in here. There we go. And you can see I'm getting just close to the edges, and I'm not getting right there on the edge. Because when we switch to the color, I'm going to get that color right up to the edge so we can get a really nice, crisp, hard line. And we get a little bit of that edge. There we go. If you guys have questions or want to talk about something, let me know. We can talk about them. Because this part isn't super exciting. But the process is, to me, I like doing it. I think it's fun. And I'm just getting a really nice thin coat. Kind of get in there. And there we go. Because it doesn't have to be perfect. Because honestly, a lot of the stuff I do isn't perfect. I do it until I think it looks good, and there we go. But I do want this to look nice for my friend. All right. Now we're ready for the teeth, and this is going to be a little challenging. I'm going to work on the back of the teeth first. That way I don't accidentally touch it when I'm working on the front of it, or the back. All right. You can see how this is already lightening it up just with the gray. Is anybody 3D printing some Halloween costume pieces and parts or decor for Halloween? We're getting close. I know it's been, honestly, for the last month and a half, my son has been working on his costume, and it's almost I would say, a good portion of it is 3D printed. He's going to be Dr. Doom. It's been fun trying to teach my son how to use a slicer. He's been wrapping his head around it. But he's printed his entire model, or his entire costume, by himself. Like, I've just helped along the way. But he's going to be Dr. Doom. He got it from, is it Yoshi's Studios? It's a really nice model. He did not enjoy trying to size it to himself, and that's where we had to watch a lot of different videos on YouTube to try to figure out how to properly size. Okay, there we go. So we got that all done. And when it comes to the tongue, I think we'll move on to the tongue next. I'm not going to paint this gray. I like the darkness of it. It's a little bit light, but that'll be fine with the green. So let me clean my brush. There we go. Best guide for beginners. Well, I'm glad I'm been able to help. So I know when I got into painting 3D prints, I have an art background and I'm painting, but when I got into painting three-dimensional stuff, there was all these strange techniques that I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I was watching a bunch of videos, and like nobody really kind of showed them. And that's why I like to show a lot of the stuff how to do it. That way you can kind of get an idea, because I don't like to hold back. I just printed Yosh's handsome Squidward. Oh, Dennis, you're going to have to share some pictures of that. I want to see it when you print. Is it done right now? Or just printed? Or is it printing or done? That's funny. Okay, so now let's get some reds. And you have to try Army Color. Are you talking about Army Painter? Because I have Army Painter. I just like to use this stuff. I use Army Painter for really small, detailed areas, if that's what you mean. Oh, it's done. All right, Dennis, you're going to have to send a picture or something. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this. I always mess this up. It's Flamenco Red. So I'm going to use this as my dark red. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit here. And I really like this for a really dark red. The other dark red that I really like to use is, where is it? Is this dragon red, if you're talking about Army Painter. Yeah, this dragon red's really good. Yeah, so the reason why I don't use a lot of my bottled paints, I only use them for like the really intricate details, just because like I've got this, like, you know, these are like $3 to $4 a bottle, and this I can get for like $1 and change. So I'd rather like waste this than this. So like when I'm using my like game color or my Army Painters, they're usually when I'm doing like really fine detail, because like I don't know. I'm also kind of like afraid to just waste them. I don't know about you. And I like the paints, but I've just been using these. Oh, where did they go? I've also got some of golden paints. I've got a small, here they are, like a small set of golden paints. And I got these because of Mr. Pigment. He recommended these of like the best paints with like for a good amount of pigment in them. And he's dead on. These are fantastic. I really like these because when we get to the white, I'm going to be using this titanium white because I want these fangs to be bright. So we're going to be using this golden white or the golden titanium. But So yeah, I like the small ones too. They are good paints. I like all of them. I like Game Color and I like Army Painter. And Army Painter just makes some good stuff. Like my dry brush, one of my favorite dry brushes is the Army Painter brushes, and I've got a few of their other brushes too. Um, they're really nice for sure. So let's go back to the desk. Here we go. Um, it's so good. Ordered. Purser, don't know if it will work with this color. Oh, I hope it does. So I'm going to add some water to this, some distilled water. Thin it down. Mr. Pigment. Oh, you're talking about the golden paints? Here, I'll add that. The white also isn't badly priced. Yeah, I like they weren't terribly priced. Like they were more expensive than my, cheap craft paints. But I actually got a set at like I think it was Michael's. It was like one of those like 50% off one of your items or something like that coupons. Uh but yeah, here wait, what you got? Chef 3ZOZ. They told me about spray. It's called primer, I think. Yeah, primer. That is essentially your base coat. Like I primed this black, and primer just helps with that first adhesion of paint. It helps it stick better, but it's not always needed. Um, but it is nice. Like I use primer a lot on all of my paints. Like it's the just your first base coat. That way it's even because like this was purple, so I like to prime it to get an even base coat of like all of my colors. Because when you're using a purple filament, you want to make sure you get everything covered really well. So, all right, so this is what I'm gonna do, and this is kind of like a wet blend. So I dipped my brush in the paint. Then I dipped my brush with the paint on it in the water. And then I came back over here and just kind of thinned it out. So this is like super thinned out paint. Like there's just a more, almost like more water. And this is kind of borderline of like a wet blend and like glaze kind of. So I'm just going to essentially bring this in, and I'm just kind of fanning out that color to the back. Then I'm going to get the paint off of my brush and then start like feathering that back to kind of get that blended in. So it's kind of a nice little gradation of color. That way I'm not going to paint the entire thing. It's just the tongue is going to get more intense. It's many painters really use this technique a lot when you're painting miniatures, and when you're dealing with a small surface, it works really, really nice. When you're working with bigger surfaces, it's a little more challenging. That's why I'm very jealous of people that paint minis, because there's a lot more techniques that they can use on smaller surfaces that's really hard to do with some of these bigger models. So I'm just kind of getting that, building up that color, and kind of going in there, if you can see it. And it's just giving a little bit of a hue, and I still got to get that edge right there. Here we go. And I don't want it to be like 100% like painted. I just want it to kind of blend it to this brighter color. So you can see how when we get back there, you're starting to not see it anymore. It's more like a little pinkish. It's kind of hard to see back there. So there you go. So you can see how it's more of a pinkish right there. So all I'm doing is just getting my paint, trying to make sure you can see that because it's a little difficult. And there we go. And just making sure I get my edges here. And there we go. So, Mr. Pigment, always love your input on this stuff. What do we got? So, very few paints that call themselves primer are actually a primer. Most are just opaque paints that dry quicker than normal. Yeah, so I'd be curious what you think about like automotive primer, because I think that is a true primer, and that's really what I use a lot. Like I like U-Pole. Darkwing Dad actually got me hooked on U-Pole. He told me I needed to try it, and he does. If you guys aren't familiar with Darkwing Dad, he does a lot of cosplay stuff. Um, he's got a really good channel. He tests out a lot of different things. But I know when it comes to primers, I like Rattle Can a lot. So there we go. Okay. Just trying to make sure I'm starting to build this up. So I'm doing the same process with the tongue now, but I'm getting a little more intense with the paint. And just kind of going back over it. That way it's kind of getting, I'm just kind of blending this wetness back. So it's going to get more and more intense. And then I'll switch to just the straight paint. But right now it's a lot of watered down paint, and I'm just trying to really blend that back there into nothingness. But it's getting brighter and brighter. And I got the tooth with red on it. Look at that. So, what'd you say? Oh, Mr. Pigment. Automotive primer is real primer. Okay, yeah, good. Because, yeah, I really like that. Because I like the U-Pole is a good sandable filler primer. And it's what I recommend, too. Yeah, excellent. Dennis. The Harbor Freight sandable primer is good, but not been able to find it lately. Yeah, I don't know what it is with primers. I'm gonna have to try that, Dennis. Like I've never used their primers. I've seen them. I've just never gotten them. But I know for the U-Pole, I get that at AutoZone, and every single time, which is an automotive store, if you guys aren't familiar. And anytime they have it in stock, like I'll go in and see if they have it in stock, and I literally clear the shelf. Like last time I went in, I think I bought like 12 cans, because when I'm going through it, like my son, his Halloween costume alone, I think I went through like 3 or 4 cans of primer. But yeah. Okay. So I hope you guys can see this. I should probably zoom out a little bit because I'm kind of all over the place. There we go. But you can kind of see how we're getting brighter here. And I'm going to just keep going back a little farther until it starts to blend well. Because the thing about this is I'm also considering the angle of this model. Because the head, if you look at it, is actually pointing down. So looking at it, you're going to see like that. Like that's actually the angle of the head and the tongue. So you don't always have to paint every single thing. Like you can, but like I personally sometimes for like shelf pieces, especially something like this, I look at what is going to be viewed, because you don't always have to paint every single little detail. Because like, you know, I didn't mess with the very back here because that's going to be in the very back of the box. Dennis, it is a rebranded, and it's only like $7. Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try that. I definitely am up for your suggestions, because I know you got me on King Rune filament from your suggestion, and I really like it. Like I used to, well, I still use. I'm not gonna say I stopped using it, but Inland and Polymaker, those were my two like go-to brands. But they're essentially the same thing. Inland Polymaker makes Inland filament. But yeah, I just ordered more King Rune, but it's like apparently they've had warehousing issues. So if you want King Rune, you're going to be waiting a little bit. I think mine is supposed to come in November sometime. What do we got? Charles West. If I can add that. There we go. Just stopped by to say thank you for the vids on Cura. You have me 3D printing like a pro in just hours. I appreciate you. Oh, thanks a lot, Charles. I'm really glad I could help you. Cura can be very challenging to understand and wrap your head around sometimes. And it's taken me a long time to get proficient in it. There's just so many slicers out there anymore. They just keep coming out. And some of them out there are really good. I've been jumping between Cura, Bamboo Studio for my bamboo stuff, and Orca lately. I've been using a lot of Orca and testing that out. All right. So we're almost an hour in, and we're doing really good. So there we go. We're going to just kind of let that dry for a little bit because I've got a nice, you can kind of see it's dried in the back a little bit. I think I want to give a little bit of a gradation more to that though. So I'm going to just bring it back, get my brush wet, and just kind of push it back a little bit. And there we go. Then I can dry my brush and do the same thing and it'll remove all that moisture. There we go. And that's going to really keep it a nice dark looking print. And we'll get some more paint on that. It's just, we're dealing with such thin paint right now. It's a challenge. There. Okay. Got a little bit of a hair there. Okay. So now that we've got that and that's going to dry, we're going to see how that turns out. I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush. And I'm going to move on to this. And I think we said we were going to do this with a little bit of a red. So let's do... Let's see what this looks like. I kind of like this. So just because Chef was suggesting or talking about the army painter, I'll use some of these. So I'm going to use this glistening blood to get this dark, and then I think we'll do like a very slight dry brush with like a pinkish to kind of give that flesh kind of look to it. Because this is also like, it's almost like a, it's called glistening blood, but it's got like a really purple, pinkish kind of hue to it. Like if you can see that. But I like that. Bamboo, mate. Yeah, bamboo. Yeah, bamboo's, if you're still talking about the slicer, I do like their slicer. It's just nice to use. I'm going to put just a drop. Maybe just a little bit more. Too big of a drop. I don't want a 1-to-1, just a little bit more. Okay. And just mix it around with my brush. Okay. So now we're just going to go in here and I'm going to go right up to the edges of this. And get this painted. And just kind of get right there. And this is probably just a little too thin for my liking. But it's going to look nice. Okay. Looks like, okay, Mr. Pigment, here we go. What are you saying? Looks like, oh my goodness, that's a word. Quinacridone magenta with a bunch of chalk in it. Well, I know you've told me that there's chalk in paints and stuff. Like, I couldn't tell you. You're the expert when it comes to paints. But I'm just trying to thin this out and get a nice thin coat of it. Get this edge better. There we go. Okay. Now we're ready for the other side. That's kind of ominous. Little Quinn Violet is what you also said. I don't know what that is. Mr. Pigment, we're going to have to do a live together. I know we've talked about it a few times. I know we were talking about paint safety, like all the dangerous paints out there. I would really love to do that because our conversations I enjoy thoroughly. And if you guys are not familiar with Mr. Pigment, I would go check out his YouTube channel and go subscribe to him. He gives really good videos about paint. One of my favorites, I've watched it a couple times, is the when you talked about skin tone. That one, I loved it. But yeah, all right. There we go. So I do the edges first, and then I'm gonna just go in there and I'll fill it in. There we go. This is the slow process because we're probably gonna have to put another coat on this guy. And there we go. Oh, I think we need to get a little closer to that. So I don't have a job anymore, so I have free time. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I hope it was on your own accord. I know you're a talented guy. Maybe we can schedule one real soon because I've been liking doing lives. That one hurt my head. Oh, probably the long word, Dennis. That was a stretch for me to even say. I'm not a wordsmith. All right. Getting these edges. I know sometimes I have problems with edges, like when they blend in too easily and you're like, well, where do I make the line? Sometimes you just got to say, you know what, I'm going to make it right there. Like, that's where I keep bringing it up. Like, I'm taking my brush and getting a little closer to the line and then a little closer to the line and until it's where I want it to be. Nope, the hurricane. Oh, no. Well, I hope everything's okay. Like, well, you're on, so I know, like, you know, you're physically all right. Most places shut down because it isn't unstable, unusable drinking water. Oh my goodness, I am so sorry to hear that. I know, been watching all of that, and it's devastating for everything that happened. There we go. All right, so I've got my two sides done. Now I'm going to give one more coat to this, and then I'm going to move back to the tongue because we're just jumping back and forth. Like, we'll get this. The second coat's a lot easier because I've already got my edge lines. And there we go. Okay. And then this side again. On the bright side, FEMA bought me pigments. There is always a silver lining. I'm glad you found it. I'm just glad you're all right. Because I know a lot of people lost everything they have, and it's just, I can't even imagine. It's absolutely tragic. All right. So it looks like I've got this coat done. Okay. Now we've got those two sides. This does is like it's a magenta-y purple. You're right. So let's go ahead and clean my brush, and we're going to go back to the red. And I'm just going to get the straight red and start applying this on there. Brighten this up a lot. Because the second pass is going to get a lot brighter. That was probably a first for FEMA. That's funny. Okay, there we go. And this is also, I'm just kind of slowly, as soon as like paint gets off of my brush, I'm kind of going back there, and it's almost like I'm doing a dry brush just to kind of gradate that back and get that a little more brighter in the back and kind of gradate that back. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right. And this might be close to being done with the tongue as soon as we're done with this part. There we go. Okay. So we got the tongue. I like that. It kind of gets darker as you go back farther, and get that on the sides a little bit. There we go. And I don't want to mess with the bottom part of the mouth either. Now I think we're ready for whitening the teeth. Like, we're getting close. Like, this isn't... wasn't planning on this being a like crazy long live stream or anything like that. So I am going to go ahead. Oh, I already got it out. The titanium white. And this is a golden. So I've already got the gray on. And this stuff, it does a really good job. Like, it might only take 1 or 2 coats. I only need a little bit. So we'll go ahead, get some on my brush. And like last time, I'm going to start on the back, but I'm going to go along the edge, like tight on the edge now. And start painting that. And I also didn't add water. I should probably put just a little drop of water, mix it in there. I don't need to thin it out a ton. Like, this is already a pretty thin paint. At least I find it to be a thin paint. And already you can see like how much that's covering up. Like, it does a really nice job. So kind of go back here. And if you guys got questions, like I said, feel free to ask them. We can talk about anything. I don't care. There we go. And Darren, it's going to look good in your mind. Sad but true. Okay. There we go. And the challenging part, getting that edge looking nice. Okay. And get the back. But you can see just one coat of this paint. I mean, it has really good coverage. And this is just, like I said, golden paint. They are really nice paints. I know the other one that I've used a few times, it's a Pro Acryl, I think it was. I don't know if it's as good as these, but it's also a really good brand. I like their white. And I'm just trying to get around here. I'm going to keep orienting my model to get those edges. There we go. All right. Get that edge a little better. That is bright. And we might add a wash to that to darken it up. But I'd rather build it up and get it nice and bright and white and then work from there instead of seeing that color come through. But yeah, there we go. Okay. So now that we've got that, let's see. This is not quite dry yet. And I love that apparently this paint has like a little bit of a gloss to it. I kind of like that, especially because it's, you know, the part of the mouth. That's kind of cool. Some of these army painters I have noticed, they have a glossy tinge to them. All right, so the next thing I think we want to do is, I might as well start with the eyes since we're waiting. I think I'm going to call it done on the tongue because I like it dark, and when it dries, it'll darken a little more. Still want to mess with this a little bit. We're going to do some, a little bit of dry brushing, I think, or just some brush work to kind of highlight these areas. But I think we're ready to start the eyes. I think we're going to use this stuff. Let me get a little brush. Let me see here. If I got a good fine point I can use. All right, yeah. All right, I've got these like really like cheap brushes. I don't know where I got them from. I think they were like a pack at Target or something like that. And I like to use these for like anything that I'm not worried about, like to like destroy the brush, because I know metal flakes can get stuck in your bristles. So once you've used a brush for metal, you do not want to use it for anything else. So the one thing that I do, like this is about to become a metallic brush, I will literally just get the end of it with some of the metallic, so then I know what my metallic brush is. Because like I've got certain brushes that I've got, here, let me show you. Like this brush, it's got gold on the end. This is like my gold brush. It's almost destroyed. But yeah. All right, so painting. All right, so what we're gonna do is just put a good drop right there. All right, Mr. Pigment, let's see how this stuff paints. I don't think I need to thin it just because it's an ink. It is pretty thick though. Here we go. So all I'm going to do is focus on just the eye. I think this brush is good enough where I won't even have to paint the eyelid, or not the eyelid, the iris, because it's going on really well. And there we go. Okay. So, I'm afraid to put too much and let it run. But this looks really nice. There we go. There's half the eye. Man, that's going to look great. So, sorry, mate. It's their painting I don't get. So I've been running a rest on mica paints for about a decade now. Turns out that's all a myth. I don't quite know what we're talking about. Oh, you're talking about getting the metal flecks in the brush? You're saying that's a myth? Because, like, I've experienced that. That's why I only use certain brushes for... That's why I only use certain brushes for my metallic paints, because every time I clean them, I can still see little flecks in them. There we go. That's looking pretty good. I gotta fix the edge right here. There. I tell you what, that gold, that really does make it. So, let's do the other eye now. And all I'm doing is basically just kind of dabbing it really slowly. So I still use 2 different wash cups, but mica doesn't destroy brushes any faster than other pigments. Yeah, I've noticed that, like, my brushes don't like wear down faster or anything like that. It's just I've noticed those flecks, and when I've painted in the, like, early on when I didn't know that, I noticed I'm painting something, and then I've got like a silver metallic fleck on my paint job when I wasn't using silver metallic. It was one of those beginner mistakes for me. But yeah, that snake looks wicked. Oh, thanks. He's looking really nice. I'm liking him, especially once he goes together. He's gonna look real good. I have lost my bag on off switches. This electronics bucket is getting messy. I've got like a big tote of electronic stuff when I try. Darren, I've printed busts on bamboo, ick, Batman, Iron Man, bamboo, lick. I don't. Maybe that was a misspelling. Iron Man. They good. Awesome. Yeah, I've printed quite a few busts. I used to do busts all the time. Yeah, the flecks are why I use 2 different wash cups, with silicone aggregators in them. Yeah, that's definitely good. Like, I use a separate wash cup for mine too when I'm washing them, because I've got my little thing over here, but I won't be doing that. I'll not be using that to clean this guy now. And we're almost there with this eye. And then I know the teeth are dry too, so we can move right back to that. Finish this guy up. There we go. Heck yeah. Man, look at that. I love it. The eyes are a little different too on each one. That's good. That gold really makes it. Okay. So, I know I just was talking about washing. Good. I like to use glass cups to wash out some of my brushes too, just because I can wash it out easier. Okay. Now, let's set that over there. Drop my other paintbrush. Ugh. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is let's finish this up. So I think if I can find a good pink. Do I have a good, maybe this, let's go with this one up here. Let's see which ones I want. I think Pink Eraser is the one we're going to go with. And let's bring back our stuff here. Set this aside. I'm going to put a little bit on my paint palette and get my tiny brush. Where's my small one? Here's my small army painter. And let's see how this turns out. This might not look good, and I might end up having to paint over it. But I'm willing to try it. That's the best part about painting. Don't be scared. If you mess it up, you mess it up. You can always fix it. Okay, so let's see what this is going to look like. You know what? Do I want to... Yes, I do. I'm going to go ahead, just because I'm afraid of messing this up. I'm going to take some of my masking tape and just kind of mask off some of this. It's not going to be perfect by any means, but just like that. And just to kind of put my finger in the paint. Excellent. That's great. There we go. Now I got a green finger. So I'll just put this on there and get it kind of close to it. There we go. So now when I'm doing my dry brushing, I don't have to worry about getting it on that edge. So here we go. We got the pink on. Let's see what we can get. I think I didn't get enough. There we go. Let's wipe that for a second. There we go. Wow, that got really pink really fast. But I don't know. Let's see. Yeah. Not quite what I was looking for, but it's kind of cool. It's almost like it's blood. So I'm just going to use these same pieces of tape. And that's the thing. Like, is this perfect exactly what I wanted? No. But it's kind of cool. I like it. Things don't always turn out exactly as you want them, but it is what it is. So now I just gotta there we go. A little bit of chalkiness right there. But I can go inside the mouth now. Get that. I think from a distance it's gonna look really nice. Maybe I can get it in a little bit more in that. Get that corner. There we go. Got a little bit of a brush on that corner. Just kind of roll it. Here we go. It did mute it down quite a bit. I think I like it. Now that I actually see it fully. I don't know what you guys think. So now, the last part before we get to the very, very last part. Let me clean this brush. Okay. Now, what I think I want to do is maybe put a little bit of a wash on these teeth to darken them up a bit. And I can always go back and add just a little bit of white to it. So I'm going to just use this Argrax Earthshade. I kind of like this one in moderation. So I'm going to basically load up my brush with it and clean this little well out. Then I'm going to just kind of put some in there and then get some of my distilled water, put a drop in there, just mix it up. And now I'm going to just paint over this white to just kind of dull it up a bit. And that'll help here. And that's all I'm doing, is just kind of covering the whole thing. Then let me take a, here we go. Let me go get a Q-tip. I keep Q-tips in my spray booth, but these are really nice to be able to just kind of draw off stuff. Like so, I don't want it to be fully on there, so it just darkens it up a little bit. And we'll just repeat the process. We'll get some brush, add some water. And there we go. It's just kind of like a brown wash. And then you can like add more water, less water for the intensity you're looking for when you're dealing with washes. Because like this could have been, I could have used a glaze and done a really dark brown and just watered it down like crazy too. And there we go. I like that. And it's just going to give a little bit of flavor to it. That way it's not 100% white, but that white is still showing through, and I think that's what I love about it, because you can see some of the darkness. On the back, it's kind of gritty just because of all of the filament, because that's where the supports were. But I think that's going to look good. All right, so now, last step, because we're going to call this guy done, because this is just an easy paint job we're dealing with. And let me clean my brush. And I am going to use, it's not quite a makeup brush or a dry brush. Here, where am I? Well, I lost, there it is. There we go. Okay. So what I've got is, I also have a very old textured paint palette, and I use this for my metallics. And I use it for my metallics for the same reasons that Mr. Pigment was saying, of like a different wash cup. Because like when I'm doing dry brushing, I don't want it to reactivate some of this paint. And I don't want it to get like all over my paint job. So this one's pretty much all dedicated to metallics, so you can see all the shiny metallics. So let's go ahead and get the, where did that color shift? The very last step. I am going to take my color shift and just apply this anywhere. And I'm going to do all over the dark green areas with this color shift. Now the key for this whole thing is I am not going to put a lot of paint on leave a lot of paint on my brush, because I want a lot of this to come off, because you can kind of see that color shift. Like, it's really cool. And I think this will make that magical snake look really good. Okay, let's put that. Ooh, yeah, I can see the fleck. See that fleck? That's what we want. All right, so let's first cross our fingers and hope this is going to work, because this might be a complete failure, honestly, because I might ruin this at the very last step, but sometimes risks are worth taking. So let's go to it, and here we go. I just like switching back between cameras now that I have that. So I am just going to, instead of going this way this time, I'm going to go this way to catch the edges of the scales, okay? So I'm just going to very lightly just kind of drag my brush along the edges here just to see what we get. And I can already see some of those flecks. I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you see some of the flecks? I don't know if it's showing up. You guys are gonna have to tell me if you see it. But I see them showing up on it. And we're just gonna keep doing this until I don't see anything coming off anymore. And I am like, you can see, like, it's just dragging it across. I don't want this to get too crazy. I just want that, like, texture of, like, a glistening, because it almost looks like a gold. I think you guys can see it now. You're going to have to tell me if you see it, because I can't tell if it's showing up on camera well. Got to get it at the right angle. Oh, right there. There we go. You can see it. But I'm not going too crazy with this. Found my switches. All right, man. I'm glad you did. All right. There we go. That's giving that, like, glistening. Like, there's some angles where you see it shine. Oh, great. I'm glad you see it. Because you can see it in person really well. Like, really well. I was worrying about if it actually showed up on camera. Sometimes this stuff is so subtle. But that's the kind of stuff I like to add. Because this could have turned out terrible. I'm going to hit it just a little bit harder in the areas that I know we're going to see really well. I think now we'll move over. Yeah, I can still see it showing up. But I mean, I removed every bit that I could off of this brush. So now I'm going to go back to my brush, get some more paint on there, get every bit as I can off. Okay. Then just repeat the process. And I think what really brings this out is when I was dry brushing, if you remember me telling you, like, I'm only going this way with it. Now I'm going the opposite way. So I'm catching the opposite edge to where it's really just bringing out that definition. And this is the exact reason why I was not wanting to go the other way with it. So this can apply to just about any other thing that you would be doing too. Like, if you even have another color that you're using, that works really well too. There we go. Even on the dark areas, that's starting to really pop. Yeah. Cool, I need to get some of that paint. Yeah, this stuff is really cool. Like, I don't think... The first time I've ever used this paint straight, like actually just painted with it, was like when we did the pumpkin. I think I did the eyes with this because I thought it'd be kind of cool. But when I'm using it, I'm usually doing stuff like this, to where it is so subtle that you don't even know what was done to it, because you can, I think I finally found it, you can see like how it's starting to glisten on these scales. Like, I mean, this looks great. I think I might push it just a little bit harder now that I've seen like how it's working, because it almost looks like it's like I'm using a gold, but it's got that green tint to it. So if I keep going here, just keep grabbing it. Yeah, now you can see it. Nice. Okay. So I think we've got the body. Now that we've got this little color change, we're done with the body. So now let's go to the head, and we're going to do the exact same thing, except we're going to be a little more focused in certain areas, I think. So I'm going to get a little more on this brush, start over, get all of this off as much as I can. I'm just going back and forth on my texture board. Then we'll test it I can see just a little bit. Oh, too much right there. All right. Yeah, you can see a little bit of that glisten. Okay, so now I'm going to just very lightly along those ridges of the eyes. There we go. I think the key to this one is going to be using it just in certain areas to make it like really like shine. The top of the nose. And I'm fanning it back and forth too to get that texture, because it's not really any ridges, so I just kind of want to get some of those edges. There we go. All right. And I'm just going to continue along that edge. And I think that's it. I think we're done. Get the cheek right here. There. There we go. I think that turned out pretty good for what? How long have we been painting? For not long. Hour and 38 minutes. So yeah, we're not been painting very long at all. So now all of it onto the camera here. Let's switch. There we go. So if we switch here, we can see, yeah, the lighting kind of stinks right there. Here we go. Looks really nice. So what we're gonna do is here, what I'm going to use to stick this on is I just got some 3D gloop. I don't know if have you guys ever used this stuff? I know I've seen it from just about everybody's using it, but I decided, you know what, I might as well get me some because it's really meant for PLA. And I'm just gonna apply some of this on there. And it's supposed to be really good. And I don't know how fast the dry time is on this guy, on this stuff, but there we go. So let me cap this back on good. And there we go. So there is our full piece. All right, so now we're ready to put this back in here. Let's zoom that out. There we go. So there we go. Now you can kind of see him. I think he turned out pretty good. So on gloop, it doesn't go far. So okay, here we go. Then Mr. Pigment also said I've never bought it though. So I'm torn on it. It's pricey and it does not go far. Well, we'll see. It's honestly the first time I've ever gotten it because I just got tired of using so much super glue, and I've heard really good things about it. So I've got the box that this goes in, and I'm just gonna take the tape off of it. Here, I can set this guy aside now. So I masked this off, and that way I didn't get any paint because I wanted the outside of it to be the filament color because I really like the filament color. And you can see the edge. I left the edge green, so it's just a black edge right there. Hopefully this isn't too loud on camera. Get my super glue from the dollar store. Oh, yeah, like, I don't know. I really love Gorilla Glue, and it is a little pricey, but when I find it on sale, I usually buy it up. Like, I mean, I have cleared the shelf at, like, my hardware store every single time I see it on sale. Because they'll have sales on it sometimes, which makes it worth it. There we go. We're almost there. And last piece. There we go. Okay. So, I don't know. I don't quite know how this is going to work. So, this... Oh, that's already dry. It's already stuck on there. Excellent. Okay, so this right here, I'm going to just take some of this gloop and put it in the hole because it's already a pretty snug fit. So we'll take this, and it's very thin. I can see why you say it doesn't go very far. And here we go. So now I'm just going to put it right in here. There we go. Fits like a glove. All right. We have finished it. I think he looks pretty sweet. What do you guys think? You know what? Now that I see it, I think I might want to apply just a little bit more of this metallic to the top here. And that's the thing. Like, once we see how it is, let's just because I see it like that, and I think it would look good. I want to bring more attention to that top of the skull here. And there we go. So you can kind of see that stuff in there, that shine. And now that it's in the box, I can see that I think this area needs a lot more of that because this is the biggest part that you see. I love that we painted all of this stuff and you don't even see half of it. There we go. But yeah, look at that. Like, when you hit it at just the right angle, it glistens. I think this will look cool in a bookshelf. And that's it. We're done. So this is just going to go in between the two books. I think this looks really nice. All right, guys. So it's pretty much, hold on, let me see. What did you say? You're talking about gloop. It's pretty much just methylene chloride based contact cement. I'm gonna have to take your word on that. I'm not the chemistry person, but I know it. Like, I can already pick this up. It's stuck on there. It did a really good job. But yeah, so here we go. Hey, so here it is, and we are done. I think this turned out really fun, and I just hope you guys can really see that glisten because it's really cool. So I appreciate you guys for stopping by tonight, and it was some fun conversation. And I think we're just going to go ahead and end it because we've got a finished snake, and maybe we'll do Gryffindor. I don't know what I'm doing for him yet. So the Gryffindor is a lion. Here, wait. Whoop. I actually got, if you guys didn't see, here's the Hufflepuff. He was pretty much 100% like airbrush, so he was really easy to do. Like, there wasn't much to him. But that's Hufflepuff. So we've got Hufflepuff, and we've got Slytherin. And Ravenclaw, I think, is in the other room. But when it comes to Gryffindor, it's the lion. It's not the greatest model, but it's kind of cool how he comes around the corner there. But actually, right here's my... I haven't even painted it yet. I just taped it off, but he goes in, I do believe, there we go. He goes in like that. So I got to paint a lion. I think the gold is going to look great on this. I might just end up using the same technique we did for the skin on this, but use that gold ink, because I think that would, like, making him like glisten, I think that would be really cool. But yeah, he's painted in purple too, but he looks good. He'll be fun to paint. We might do a live for him, or I might do a video, I don't know yet. But thanks a lot. We're gonna go ahead and end it. I appreciate you guys for sticking around for the next, what was it, the last 2 hours or so, almost 2 hours. But didn't take much. So if you guys wanted to do this, you can get it. I put it in the description of the video. I got it on Cults 3D because I actually bought all of them. But I always thought Huffle Snuff was a blowfish. I don't know Harry Potter at all. Yeah, Hufflepuff is a badger. And then there's Slytherin. We're a house of nerds. We watch Harry Potter. We've read the books. Yeah. Then Ravenclaw is, of course, that one makes sense. It's a raven. So, but yeah, that one looked really good because I took this and kind of did a glisten effect on it, on the wings. But, all right. Well, I'm going to end this live stream. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys either in the Discord or the community, and we can chat there. But thanks a lot for tonight, and I'll go ahead and I'll see you later. All right? Have a good night.